country in turmoil and an economic status of South Africa hanging in the balance. I might be wearing a Harry Potter sweater today, but there's no wizardry involved in recovery of a failing economy due to an unseen enemy that faces all South Africans today. For the last 5 months, South Africa has been in total lockdown, which means that businesses have been closed, people have lost their jobs, and consumer spending has dwindled to a minimum. This is the SA Diplomat, and we explore business, South Africa, in a series looking at various business sectors around South Africa and how the effects of COVID-19 and the coronavirus crisis has affected all of us. Today we are at EFQS, a leading quantity surveying firm in Cape Town, South Africa, and we chat about the construction industry. Over the next few weeks we will also be looking at various other industries. Today Mr. Ebrahim Fakier, the Managing Director of EFQS, speaks to the SA Diplomat and gives us some insights into the workings of the construction industry and the challenges faced currently during this dreaded crisis that we currently see. If you listen carefully, that's the silence of the economic wheels turning very slowly in South Africa. So to unpack this and to give us maybe a glimmer of hope into the future, we'll explore what business people are doing to make our lives, your life, and all business lives easier in South Africa. We welcome Mr. Ebrahim Fakier, the Managing Director of EFQS, to the SA Diplomat. I am to understand that this is his debut on TV, so I think it's going to be an easy transition for him. Not much preparation that went into this, but the ideal is he is a professional quantity surveyor and the best person to give us insights into the construction industry. Welcome, Mr. Fakier, to the SA Diplomat Abroad channel.
Good day, Ebrahim. Thanks for having us on your platform.
Okay, so to move right into things, Ebrahim, I mean, you come from an industry that we don't know much about, but the one thing we know for sure is that this is an industry that in every household has an impact. I mean, the building we're standing in at the moment was built by a construction company, a contractor probably, and that's part of the construction industry. Now, many industries around South Africa have been impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. Needless to say that prior to the pandemic already, South Africa's economy was not doing well, and various industries were put under pressure prior to this. I think this was just, I hate to say a final nail in the coffin, but this is a very challenging time, the last 5 months under the lockdown. So as far as the pandemic is concerned, from a construction perspective, how has this affected new developments in South Africa and current projects that was undertaken prior to the pandemic?
That's a very good question, Ebrahim. As you know, since the Soccer World Cup, which seems like ages ago now, it was the height of the construction industry in South Africa. But since then, I think we've seen a lot of the major stakeholders in the construction industry, the likes of Grinica LTA, Stephen Newty Stocks, come under immense pressure. So there is definitely, the lead up to the pandemic, there's definitely been a lack of those bigger projects that would contribute significantly to the construction industry's GDP.
Okay, now I mean, when looking at this specific industry, the and speaking about the 2010 World Cup, there was obviously a tremendous amount of opportunities that time going into the Soccer World Cup, major construction, major infrastructure development in South Africa running up to that point. And as you know, the SA Diplomat is based in Doha in Qatar, and what South Africa has experienced in that last 10 years in the run-up to the 2010 World Cup, Qatar is now experiencing in the run-up to the 2022 World Cup. Now, those types of opportunities probably once in a lifetime, because that type of event, other than the Olympics, is a major boost to any country and any construction industry's bottom line. When looking at the industry today, during this very dreaded period, this crisis period of the coronavirus and the COVID-19 crisis we're currently sitting in, do you see any opportunities now in the near future or in immediate in the construction industry, whilst we know there's no end in sight for the crisis as it stands?
Absolutely, Ebrahim. You know, leading, so if I just take it from the World Cup leading into the pandemic, so an already ailing construction industry has suffered obviously with, you know, in construction, key factors are time. A key factor is time. And in any industry, time is money. So the time that has been lost on projects, you know, has a significant impact on the industry as it stands currently, and also at the rate at which it will recover. So right now, I think that people are still scared of what the state of the economy is before making those all-important decisions to all systems go on a construction project. And also there is then the effect of the social distancing. You know, I mean, how does one factor that into a construction site that could employ thousands upon thousands of people? Imagine the bricklayer having to stand 3 meters away from his labourer and expecting him to pass the brick. I think it's almost impossible.
Which brings us to the next point. I mean, obviously, the construction industry is one of those industries that each and every one of us as South Africans knows someone, a family member, a friend, a brother, a sister, that's involved in construction, either as skilled labour or unskilled labour or professional in the industry. How has this affected those spheres of labour force in the construction industry, especially now during this crisis?
I think you look at, in simple terms, those that had worked before the industry still have a hope in that they have work to go back to. The newer opportunities are very far and few. So the bottom line is that skilled, unskilled, professional, everyone linked to the construction industry is feeling the pinch.
Okay, now I mean, you run a quantity surveying firm, and that's cost and management of various projects out there. And from your perspective, I mean, you've been in business for a while now, and you know the industry as far as a cost management perspective, from a cost management perspective. How has this impacted on your business, on EFQS per se?
Look, we are a smaller to medium-sized consultancy. You know, to us, the income has certainly dropped, or is almost, you know, don't want to say non-existent, but the income stream has definitely dropped. The sad thing is that your fixed overheads and expenditure still very much remains the same. We are not driven by, you know, we're not selling a live product, we're selling time. So if we can't turn that time into billable hours, we have a bit of a conundrum on our hands.
And by what you're saying, I'm to understand that there's not much to bill for at the moment. So
you've taken the words out of my mouth.
Okay, so I mean, that's probably one of the major issues that this industry faces. So from a broader perspective, when looking at the industry as a whole, it was always an industry faced with challenges. In current times, I'm sure those challenges haven't become less. I'm sure it's only become far more. So in general speaking, what types of challenges is the industry facing at the moment?
Look, I think that as proudly a South African and as a proud African, we have this tendency to think out of the box. You know, we see the box and we make use of that box.
Yeah.
So I think our philosophy is always not to be too rigid and to be too presumptuous in terms of what we can do, right? We are always looking out for any opportunity related to our professional service. So, for example, we've gotten involved with skills training. You know, that's not something that a construction professional necessarily do. But I think now is the time more than ever to take this opportunity to redivert our focus, because times are quiet, and you know, develop our own staff members a bit further, right? We also maybe extend the hand to external graduates that would not necessarily have had an opportunity, because when you're in the rat race, every hour counts. So we have a couple of more hours to spare, and we pass that on.
You know, originally I come from the investment finance industry.
Yes.
And when looking from an economic perspective at the investment finance industry, it doesn't matter what time it is on the market, whether it's a bullish period or whether it's a bearish period, we always find opportunities. In a bearish period, it's always a good time to buy stocks. In a bullish period, it's always a good time to sell stocks. In my mind, limited to investment finance, not much knowing much about construction, I still have that type of outlook of every industry, thinking that at the end of the day there is a little bit of a silver lining when it comes to any industry. In specifically the construction industry, do you see recovery on the cards anytime soon? And do you see the construction industry entering a boom phase anytime in the future again?
Look, I think as a country, we certainly need to up our infrastructure, roads, schools, hospitals. So from a government housing, from a government's perspective, there is a landscape for them to roll out a solid infrastructure plan, which would in turn mean work for myself, work for the, like you so nicely put it, all the role players, the professionals, the labor force, the semi-skilled, the subcontractors, the supply. I mean, the list is endless. All industries are intertwined. So yes, I think that the boom, I wouldn't call it a boom. You know, a boom to me is more of a destructive wave. But I think that it's definitely that silver lining is there. It's for us to persevere and get through these trying times. And as South Africans, we've stood the test of time. We've come out of apartheid. You know, you spoke about the construction industry, and I just wanted to make this point that, you know, the fact that I'm standing here as a qualified professional, whereas my only experience or attachment to the previous generation, you know, all my uncles, my grandfathers, my great-grandfathers, they were tradesmen, they were labourers, they were artisans. And the fact that we've come out of that trying time, and I can stand in front of you as a third, fourth generation, as a qualified professional, has to say something. We will persevere, we will get through this, and I think as a country we will come out better than we were before.
Some inspiring words, but I'm not going to leave it just there. When one looks at the construction industry, it's not only about building a building. It's about the hardware that you purchase the goods by. It's about the transport vehicle that delivers your goods. It's about the manufacturer that manufactures your cement, manufactures your bricks. It's about the timber company that manufactures the timber for your roof or your flooring. The industry is not a small industry. It's a massive industry with huge knock-on effects. And as a professional in your field, in the construction industry, any words of advice to other businesses linked, or who are firstly in the construction business, as well as those linked, the subsidiary companies linked to the construction industry. Any words of advice to them during this trying time? What should they be doing at the moment?
I think for those that have work, obviously, let us try and support local. Let's try and support local suppliers. So professionals should be specifying local products. For those that have work, try and implement labor-intensive construction methods. So this means instead of using a bulldozer at X amount of rand per day to demolish a building, why not employ 5-10 people, which in turn feeds 5-10 families. So I think, again, for those that have work, think out of the box. For those that don't have work, also think out of the box. There are other aspects that you could, of the industry that you could explore, like training, etc.
Inspiring words. We thank you for your time, and I think these are very valuable words and comments that came from you today. I pick up a little bit of reassurance and a little bit of a silver lining into the future. So it's all not gloom and doom. So we wish EFQS obviously all the best for the future, and we hope to see you stronger and at the front line of industry once this crisis has passed.
Thank you very much, Abdullah.
This is the SA Diplomat Abroad, and we've been speaking to Mr. Ebrahim Fakier, the Managing Director of EFQS Quantity Surveyors, here in Cape Town, South Africa. A few good words were imparted by him today as far as advices to the industry, and to give us a bit of a synopsis of exactly what's happening in the construction industry today. The one thing I did pick up from what he said was that buy local, support local. And that's something that we as the SA Diplomat Abroad, we are propagating. Based in Doha, Qatar, we try and buy and support local South African brands. This is our time, and we can overcome any challenges, because in our blood as South Africans, adversity is one of those little stumbling blocks if one considers where we come from as South Africans. This is once again the SA Diplomat Abroad, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and pound that notification bell. Until next time, we bid you goodbye.